Jannik Sinner has been unable to sleep after losing to Alcaraz. The Italian Jannik Sinner admitted that he has had trouble sleeping after losing the Roland Garros final to the Spaniard Carlos Alcaraz. World number 1 Jannik Sinner acknowledged that he has spent several sleepless nights following his tough defeat to Carlos Alcaraz in the Roland Garros final. The Italian spoke about his feelings this Sunday upon arriving in Germany, where he will play the ATP 500 tournament in Halle, part of his preparation for Wimbledon. Exactly 1 week ago, Sinner lost the Roland Garros final to Alcaraz despite holding a 2-set lead and having 3 match points in the 4th set, in an epic battle that was decided in the super tiebreak of the 5th set, after 5 hours and 29 minutes of play, the longest final in the history of the Parisian tournament. "Yes, I've already had a few sleepless nights, although I think it gets better every day," admitted Sinner, who was thankful for the support of his family and friends. "That is the most important thing to me. Tennis is important in my life, but my family and friends are even more so. Nevertheless, I think often about the match against Alcaraz." Sinner, who also admitted to thinking often about the 3 match points he let slip in Paris, wants to move on. "I think it's positive for me to play another tournament, because every match is a new beginning and I must be mentally prepared to give everything on the court. Therefore, it's great to be here in Halle." In this grass court tournament in Germany, Sinner, 23 years old, will defend the title he won last year. It would be the Italian's first title since serving a 3-month suspension for 2 failed anti-doping tests last year. On his return, he lost the finals of Rome and Roland Garros, both on clay and both to Alcaraz. Carlos Alcaraz still doesn't understand what happened with Sinner. A week after the magical final against Jannik Sinner, Carlos Alcaraz still can't quite believe how he won the Roland Garros final, especially how he managed to save 3 match points. It's been a week since Carlos Alcaraz etched his name into tennis history by defeating Jannik Sinner in one of the greatest matches of all time. 5 hours and 29 minutes of battle in which the Mercian came back from 2 sets down to retain his crown in Paris and extend his Grand Slam lead over the Italian, who had won the previous 2. He also put an end to a very inconsistent stretch and proved that, despite doubts surrounding his personality and approach to tennis, he remains one of the game's greats. If there's one moment to highlight from the 329 minutes of that match, it's without doubt when Carlitos faced 3 match points in the 4th set. At that point, it looked all but over, but he dug deep and reversed an almost impossible situation. A feat that, even now, a week later, he admits he doesn't quite understand how he pulled off. "I still check my phone, the press, and watch videos of the match against Sinner and how I managed to save those match points, and honestly, I don't understand how I won." Despite everything he has already achieved in his still short career, Carlos admits he still goes into shock when he thinks about what he did, to the point that sometimes he's not fully aware that he's the Roland Garros champion. But yes, he is, and not just once, but twice, and if not for the cramps in that 2023 semifinal, he might already have 3 Musketeers Cups. Now, onto the grass. While still processing the tremendous victory, and after a quick stop in Ibiza to relax, Alcaraz now has to get back to work. He will debut this Tuesday at Queen's, but the real objective lies just ahead. From June 30th to July 13th, Wimbledon will take place. At the All England Lawn Tennis and Croquet Club, the El Palmer native will defend his title, and after what happened in Paris, Sinner will be hungrier than ever to take it from him, as will Novak Djokovic, Jack Draper, and others who might join the chase. Carlos Alcaraz jokes about his last party in Ibiza, "My body can't take it anymore." It's been a week since Carlos Alcaraz lifted the Roland Garros trophy after defeating the Italian Jannik Sinner in a historic final. The Mercian celebrated in style and, as he likes to do, went to Ibiza to enjoy some peace and partying. The Spanish player had a great time but confirmed, jokingly, that he only went out one night. In statements to AFA, he talked about his Ibiza holidays after winning Roland Garros last week. "They were fun, but this year was calmer than last year. Last year was wilder. I went out the first day, and the next 2 I didn't go out at night. On Tuesday and Wednesday, I was in bed by 12, although I did go out in the afternoon. I'm getting older, and my body can't take it anymore," said Alcaraz with a laugh. A tradition for Carlos Alcaraz. The Ibiza trip has become a tradition for the Spaniard, who, however, received criticism last year for doing it, as it was said to have affected his preparation for Queen's. Even so, he went on to win Wimbledon weeks later, and this year he's repeated the ritual, with the blessing of many who, after witnessing his spectacular win over Sinner at Roland Garros, encouraged him to go wherever he wanted. There are situations where many people might not agree, even when you think it's okay, but they don't agree. But in life, I want to make my own mistakes. I'm glad that this year people are telling me to go wherever I want, to disconnect, Because that support helps in certain situations. We're learning every year, and maybe in a few years I won't be able to go, but right now these moments of disconnect are helpful, Alcaraz said. Decisive change at Wimbledon noted by Alcaraz, Sinner, and Djokovic. Wimbledon has announced a prize of £3 million, €3.5 million, for the singles champions in the 2025 edition, to be held from June 30 to July 13 at the All England Club in London. The Grass Court Grand Slam also confirmed two major changes. In line with general circuit rules, which Roland Garros still refuses to follow, line judging will now be electronic. But the favorites for the title, including defending champion Carlos Alcaraz, his dethroned opponent Novak Djokovic, and world number 1 Jannik Sinner, have taken even greater note of another decision. The final schedule has changed. Instead of starting at 2 p.m. local time, Saturday and Sunday's singles finals will now begin at 4 p.m. London time, 5 p.m. Spanish time. In case of a very long match, there is a possibility that the roof may be closed to activate artificial lighting, which would dramatically change the playing conditions, as happens already when the roof closes due to rain. The men's doubles final will kick off the day on Saturday at 1 p.m. local time, 2 p.m. in Spain. On Sunday, the women's doubles final will do the same. The goal is to improve the experience for everyone involved. Doubles players will know their schedule more precisely, and fans will enjoy the day at Wimbledon before matches begin, with champions being crowned in front of the largest possible audience, said Sally Bolton, chief executive of the All England Club, in statements collected by Agencia EFE. Bolton also noted that Wimbledon does not plan to add a 15th day to its calendar, a third Sunday, like Roland Garros has done. Wimbledon increases prize money. Carlos Alcaraz could earn €1 million more than at Roland Garros. On June 30, Wimbledon, the third Grand Slam of the season, will begin. At this event, the champions will receive a massive prize higher than last season, when Carlos Alcaraz beat Novak Djokovic and took home around €3.2 million. The tournament announced on Thursday an increase in its prize pool to €62.8 million, 7% more than last year and double what it offered in 2015. Deborah Jevons, chair of the All England Club, presented the 2025 edition details in a press conference, highlighting the ongoing increase in prize money. Wimbledon will now reward its singles champions with €3.5 million, 11% more than what Alcaraz and Barbora Krejcikova earned last year. This prize is €1 million more than what Carlos Alcaraz and Coco Gauff earned for winning Roland Garros just days ago. Additionally, players competing in the first round will receive £66,000, €77,500, a 10% increase compared to last year. The challenge in tennis is that players don't get the rest they want, and injuries are constantly increasing, which is something they talk about. We've always said that, as Wimbledon, we are open to collaborating and discussing with the tours to find solutions, and that door remains open, Jevons said, emphasizing not just the financial effort. Moreover, the finals will now begin at 4 p.m. local time, on the final weekend instead of 2 p.m., and line judges will be permanently replaced by live electronic line calling, a change Roland Garros still resisted just last month. Wimbledon's biggest project remains the expansion into neighboring Wimbledon Park, which would add 39 new grass courts. However, the project is currently mired in legal proceedings. Though building permission was granted, a local protest group has filed for a judicial review, which will be heard during the tournament's second week. Nadal responds to Alcaraz being inspired by him in his comeback, "If he can already think of me." Rafa Nadal spoke about the Roland Garros final, where Carlos Alcaraz came back from 2 sets down against Jannik Sinner, during the charity golf tournament Battle of the Stars in support of ALS patients. For the 14-time champion, it was a match for the history books, and he felt flattered that the Mercian thought of him, "If he already has the ability to think of me." The Roland Garros edition that served as a tribute to Rafa Nadal, who retired late last year, couldn't have ended better for Spanish tennis, with Carlos Alcaraz repeating as champion after an epic comeback in what was nearly a lost match against Jannik Sinner. A special tribute for a man who won the Musketeers Cup 14 times. Nadal spoke about that final at a golf tournament in Mallorca, where he was playing alongside, among others, his uncle Tony. Nadal had no doubts in praising a historic final played by Alcaraz and Sinner. "It was a truly spectacular and very emotional finish. In the end, seeing him with the trophy in his arms, after being so close to losing it to Jannik, I was really happy for him," said the Mallorcan ex-player. He also thanked Alcaraz for his words about drawing inspiration from him. "Honestly, I haven't seen it, but if he already has the capacity to think of me at that moment, I'm very happy for him." Players who are consistently above the rest, who are proving to be great champions, and are making their own way. That's the reality. I think tennis is in good hands, Nadal said, referring to the generation led by Alcaraz and Sinner, currently the two most dominant players on the ATP Tour. The 22-time Grand Slam champion lived through his first edition not being present since debuting in 2005 as just another spectator. For Rafa, seeing a place that has meant so much to my sporting life and just enjoying the tennis, that's my new reality, and I'm not thinking beyond that.